Good morning all, and a happy Wednesday morning to you. And as you are watching this video, I am currently on an airplane winging my way back to the United States. Please remember there will be no video on Thursday or Friday. There might be one Saturday, but please go into my description box and get the links to my Twitter, Getter, and Rumble. You're gonna need them. All right, let's go. We're going to start off this morning with King Charles, who was received by President Ruto at the State House in Nairobi on day one of their visit to Kenya. They were very warmly received. This is the first visit to a Commonwealth country since Charles became the king. And it coincides, by the way, with the 60th anniversary celebration of Kenya's independence, which was declared in 1963. And since then, the two nations have been very warm. They've had good, communication and good relations. Now, for anybody who's wondering, the jet was using sustainable fuel, a low-carbon biofuel, to help with the environment. Good for Charles. Then he did an inspection of the Guard of Honor at the ceremonial welcome at the State House. Now, there wasn't a big welcome at the airport, but there was a big welcome at the State House, just saying. Let me just say ahead of time, I'm going to try to put these in the correct order, but I can't guarantee that everything that you're seeing is going to be in the right order. Just know that this was all stuff that occurred on day one of the trip, okay? By the way, there was a fabulous band there. Now, when that was over, of course, the president, Ruto, and the king went in and had a meeting, and at the same time, Camilla and the president's wife had a meeting as well. Then, of course, they had the obligatory signing of the book. Next thing that happened was King Charles and the president went to lay a wreath at the tomb of the unknown warrior in the Uhuru Gardens, and while laying the wreath, the king paused and closed his eyes in a moment of what can only be called powerful contemplation. The king then at some point planted a tree, did a great job doing it, and for those of you who can't see him, if you look over Charles's left shoulder, there's Johnny. Let me zoom in just a little bit for you. Hi, Johnny. Looking good. Camilla and, Rachel Ruto were also there. Another stop the king made was at it's a group called City Shamba, which is a food security initiative. What they do is they train local communities to grow sustainable organic gardens. This one happens to be at the hospital, and 35% of what they grow is used at the hospital. Pretty cool. Next, King Charles and Camilla went to a community at Makadara Huduma Center, hope I'm saying that right, where the Queen dealt with the children in the library and the reading, because that's her thing. And King Charles peeled off to go meet the students that he's helping with the Prince's Trust. How wonderful is that? It looks like so far this trip is going well. All right. Let's move on now. All right, next up, this just caught my attention. Did you guys know there are over 1,600 clocks in the palace? And every single one of them has to be turned back. We fell back, you fall back, spring forward. Every clock, 1,600 clocks have to be turned back. How'd you like to do that for a living? Moving on. All right, moving on, articles are coming out that Eugenie and Beatrice should not become full-time royals. It will not go down well with the public. It doesn't go with this whole slim-down monarchy thing. Now, we know that right now, frontline royals are really thin. And people are saying, Beatrice and Eugenie and Lady Windsor could step up and take it up, but a BBC royal correspondent for 14 years says that would not be a wise thing to do, and it would be a backward step for King Charles about the whole slim down monarchy thing. Also, let's be honest, people think that Princess Eugenie is the mole who is releasing information to Harry and Meghan, and people don't really like her right now, and I don't think they want her involved. Can't really blame them. All right, let's move on to some interesting news now. David Beckham apparently has accepted an invitation from King Charles to go to a dinner after David and his wife Victoria have severed ties with Prince Harry. He's going to be talking to him about the possibility of becoming an ambassador for the Prince's Trust Foundation. For those of you who may not remember, the charity was founded by King Charles to help provide skills to young people. Now, David Beckham previously did something like that for the Invictus Games, for Prince Harry. But he and his wife no longer have anything to do with Harry after Meghan accused Victoria Beckham of leaking information about her, which is really, we all know that's patently ridiculous. If anything, she knows the most about keeping her privacy. So the two of them have gone their separate ways. Their friendship is kaput. Now, we know that after Victoria and David's success on Netflix, Meghan sent them flowers and then was upset that Victoria and David Beckham didn't publicly thank her for the flowers. We also know David recently bought that team, and then they had their son Brooklyn's wedding, and I bet Harry and Meghan are really regretting what they did to them now, because they could have been so much help to them. Moving on. All right, moving on to Prince George. We know that next week he's going to be taking that big exam, and that's why Catherine is not going with William next week to the Earthshot Prize Awards in Singapore. She's staying behind to support George because he's going to be preparing, hopefully, to attend Eton just like his dad did and his uncle did. And Harry did, although we are aware that it's since come out that they were literally scrambling to give Harry points so that he could get into Eton. Apparently he didn't do that well, and I do believe it's at Eton where he was accused of cheating. And yeah, it just didn't go well for him there. And whatever. So George is he's got a lot of pressure on him. He's got to do well. He's not going to be able to skim past like Harry did. Moving on, articles like this I just love, and I have to touch on them. The fact that Catherine has come out looking better than ever since Harry and Meghan have been attacking her. They have not issued any responses, interviews, or statements. They have not sunk to their level. They have simply put their nose to the grindstone, did their job. Catherine has not put one foot out of line. The article said, and I'm quoting, "The public sympathized with them and felt their response showed poise, maturity, and dignity, but they flew above the storm, whereas Harry and Meghan continue on with the whining and the moaning and the groaning, and I'm a victim, blah, blah, blah." People are sick of it. Moving on. Next up, King Charles, I think he thought his reign, he was going to be supported by William and Harry, but of course we all know that went wrong when Harry left with Meghan. And then you had the Sussexes, throwing grenade after grenade at the royal family, and it still hasn't stopped. But, King Charles knows firsthand the ideal of the family really matches the reality of the monarchy. I think he knows that better than anybody. And of course, I think he's just hurt by the whole thing. And why did Harry and Meghan leave? Well, now it's come up that they're split on how to move forward because Harry wants to work on himself, his family, and charity work, and Meghan Markle wants to work on her brand and becoming an A-lister in Hollywood. I've said it before, I think the only reason she married Harry was she thought marrying him would get her into Hollywood as an A-lister. Now, when she first married Harry, the Queen said, "Why don't you just go by Meghan Markle? Why don't you continue to act part-time?" And she was the one who said, "No, I'm going to do this boots on the ground running full-time." But the truth of the matter is, all she ever wanted was to be an A-lister. That's been her whole thing. Remember, we've heard all this. I'm only going to work with the A-list directors. I'm only going to work with the best. Even Tyler Perry didn't give her a job. It's already been proven that they can't keep their mouths shut. They blabbed about Courtney Cox. The Obamas want nothing to do with them. The Beckhams want nothing to do with them. They're constantly name-dropping with A-listers that don't know them and don't have anything to do with them. And so Prince Harry and Meghan Markle are scrambling for money because they don't have any cash flow. They have no jobs in the pike for Netflix. Their Spotify contract is dead. All this talk about Audible's going to sign them. Turns out it wasn't true. So people are now saying, ooh, maybe she'll do a dishwashing commercial. I mean, how many times did we hear about that stupid letter she wrote where we found out later on it was her father who even called Nickelodeon to get that whole thing on the news. And it was a class project. So now they're saying money is ripping them apart. I bet it is. I honestly think that Meghan convinced Harry that his father would never cut him off, that his father would continue to fund his lifestyle, and then that didn't happen. Remember back in June or July, we saw this article. They canceled the party at their home because of their deteriorating Netflix contract. That's not what happened. They tried to throw a big A-list party and nobody was coming, so they canceled it. They're always seen around the same people. Always. Oprah, Ellen, Portia. Oprah, Ellen, Portia. Now to top it all off, the fact that Pearl was canceled and Live to Lead was nothing and Invictus didn't do well, it's coming out now that Netflix might get rid of Harry and Meghan as soon as The Crown finishes because public interest in them could be finally just dropped. Their interest in them is going to wane after The Crown has aired. They signed that multi-million-dollar deal and their output has been crap, as I just told you. Now, for those of you who are not aware, The Crown is going to air its sixth and final season before the end of 2023. It is disgusting. They're going to recreate Diana's car crash in the tunnel. They're going to bring Diana back as a ghost. It is not a real show. It's not real, but people think it is, but it's not. But they're saying that the end of this show could get Netflix to pull the plug on Harry and Meghan because the general interest in the royals and their lives is down the toilet. Now, the one-trick ponies that they are, the next project by Netflix is based on a show called a book called Meet Me at the Lake, which was based on the lives of Harry and Meghan. So it's a one-trick pony. Now, Archwell did not purchase this project. Netflix purchased it because they may decide to get rid of Harry and Meghan and do the book with somebody else. I'm going to keep an eye on this. I think it's going to be very interesting to see how this comes out. Moving on. Interesting. Now, in the meantime, Prince Harry has just been appointed a member of the board of directors for conservation organization Africa Parks. Now, he's worked with them for the last 6 years, and he served as its president, but now he's been moved up to a board member. This article is very interesting because it says he served as Africa Park's team to help the first phase of 500 elephants move in 2016. And then it goes on to say he co-hosted a group of U.S. official conservationists and philanthropists as they toured protected wildlife and nature preserves under Africa Park's management in Zimbabwe. Just as an FYI, I did a video on this. Those U.S. officials were there. Anyway, he kind of tagged along. This was not an official thing. And does anybody else, of course, find it unusual that while King Charles and Queen Camilla are on their way to Kenya, this announcement is made? This is such typical crap from the two of them trying to steal the limelight in some fashion. It's so childish. Well, at least he's got his name on something, but I'm telling you, if he's on that board, they're paying him. Moving on. I also find it interesting that other than touring somebody one time, he hasn't done anything with this group since 2016. Absolutely nothing. But, hey, they're probably paying him for this board position. I'm telling you. I'm actually wondering if it's not a downgrade from president to simply a board member. I mean, we all know how he loves the animals. Moving on. Next up, a blind item came out, which doesn't surprise me. Remember when Harry and Meghan landed in Atlanta, of all places, on a private jet? And everybody was like, how did the paparazzi know they were on that jet? Well, apparently, according to the blind item, Meghan Markle called them and told them when and where she was landing. That makes absolute sense. Otherwise, how would they know to be there? All right, moving on. All right, next up, husband and I, when we were in Italy, we walked into a perfume place and they handed us this list. Do you see it? Harry, the scent intense Hugo Boss. Moving on. Next up, thank you to Catherine I Don't Give a Shite on YouTube for these pictures, because I gotta be honest, that is Harry looking really happy and genuine, and now looking really miserable. Too bad he can't see these. Yeah. All right, moving on. This article, I do believe Jessica Mulroney made it known that she was going to be coming forward with some dirt, and here we go. So, Meghan Markle, apparently now it's being shown that she did know about the royals once again. Her mother and father-in-law hosted Prince Charles and Princess Diana on their official visit to Ottawa back in the 1990s. And they also hosted the late Queen Elizabeth in Vancouver in 1987 at a Commonwealth meeting during her official tour of Canada, while Jessica's husband Ben attended a dinner with the monarch as a child. So, does anybody here really believe that Jessica Mulroney never said one word to Meghan Markle about the fact that her husband's parents, her in-laws, used to hang out with them? Because I just don't believe that for 1 second. Now, the parents, her mother and father-in-law, that was not the only time that they hung out with them. Moving on. All right, here we go, guys. Omid Scooby-Doo is trying to bait people. Look, here's the first look of what you can expect from my book. And he shares a picture of his workstation on X, where he reveals to fans a sneak peek of what they can expect to read. And so first you see a proof copy of the book. The front cover clearly shows all the members of the royal family. And then it shows the screen of his laptop, and it says Chapter 13, A Dangerous Games, Royals and the Media. So we already know what he's doing. He's baiting everybody. We already know, by the way, or maybe you don't know, that other chapters in the book are called Baggage, The Lingering Trials of Prince Charles, Gloves Off, Prince Harry, Man on a Mission. It's another hit piece on the royal family. We know that Harry and Meghan helped him with the book, just like they helped him before. Moving on. All right, I'm turning my attention now to SNL, because they have been taking the piss out of Harry and Meghan recently, and so I want to show you some clips. Here's the first one.
Suits actress Meghan Markle married some unemployed dude who still lives with his grandma.
Then as they really started to get on people's nerves, more and more raunchy stuff started coming out, like this.
Here we see the president and the first bitch.
Then, of course, we have what happened when the coronation came up.
The organizers of King Charles's coronation have officially invited Meghan Markle, and this is nice, at a starting salary of $19 an hour. That seems very generous, guys. Yeah.
And of course, we have the whole slave trade debacle. This is not stopping anytime
Charles will
soon.
visit Kenya next week, where he is expected to acknowledge Britain's role in the slave trade and unfortunately attempt to return Meghan. I just report the news.
All right, moving on. They're saying Harry and Meghan are starting to feel the strain after the hypocritical move. And what was the hypocritical move? They went to the Mental Health Summit in New York and talked about how climate change can affect mental health, and then took a private jet to an island and then back again. Moving on. All right, moving into our last story for today. Apparently, they're saying that Prince Harry has a lot of resentment because he's separated from his family for the 4th year in a row. Apparently, according to these articles, he wants to go back to the UK. But Meghan shows no signs that she even likes England. She doesn't want to raise the children there. She doesn't want them around Harry's family. We know that Harry's family is going to issue an invitation, but we know that the invitation will not be picked up. So, he's house hunting, it's being said, but I think he's house hunting because of the counselor of state position and taxes, not for any other reason. All right, you guys. Well, you know what's going on. This will be the last video until Saturday. Please do not misunderstand. We probably will come back to YouTube, but I'm not gonna do what I've been doing until we fix the issues that we're having. So, in the meantime, thank you guys for hanging in with me, and happy trails.